So if RPR were a friend, she would probably be my best friend. And I know that sounds silly, but I love technology and I love helping people and I love technology that evolves. Hi, I'm Stephanie Chumbley. I've been an RPR trainer since October 2013. I generally train new users who are aware of RPR but aren't making the most of it. Sometimes I feel like, guys, you haven't been using RPR this whole time. What have you been doing? And so I feel bad for them knowing that they've been using maybe something that's more inferior to RPR, and I love all the reports and all the data that they can access. Its sole purpose is to help the realtor, to give them another tool in their tool belt. I can't get across to them enough that this is a value-added benefit for paying your NAR dues. Because you're a member of the National Association of Realtors, you have access to the full-blown version of RPR. There are a lot of people who feel that as they open up the RPR app and use it for the first time, there's too many buttons to learn and it can be confusing. But the more I've played with the app and the more I've played with the website, I find it is intuitive, and if you have somebody to guide you through it who's passionate about RPR like I am, then it makes the process very easy to learn. My goal is for everyone who attends my classes to feel empowered with the knowledge to operate and use RPR to its full extent. And so when I teach RPR Mobile, we go through every button in the app, and they often find so many features in there that they didn't realize were in the app.
I really love the mini reports and sending them out to clients while you're already in the field doing something else, to be responding to those leads that you get through the computer. That was fantastic to see that within minutes you could reach out to somebody that was reaching out to you.
It's kind of like you don't really know what questions to ask until you come to something like this, and then you say, oh, there's the schools, and oh, I can add notes, and oh, there's how I create a report.
The biggest thing for me was reminding me that the mini reports can be very helpful when you're out in the field and you want to do something really quick on the go. You can step aside for a minute and get something answered very quickly.
Today was actually really cool to be able to find owner name searches and school searches and modifying the searches just a little bit better. I always run an RPR CMA and compare it against the RMLS CMA and look at the pluses and minuses of both. And I use RPR all the time when I am out with clients showing houses.
When I teach RPR the first time to somebody, I love to see those light bulb moments, those aha moments. And when I see them taking my additional RPR classes, I ask, so, are you getting anything new out of this? And a lot of them say yes. Every time I take one of your RPR classes, I learn something different. And it's like all these different pieces of the puzzle. I kind of liken RPR to the human brain. There's that old adage that we only use 10% of our human brain, and I don't know if that's real, but I feel like we're not using RPR to the fullest. And so I'll just keep teaching RPR until I've reached everyone in the Portland metro area, because I want all of them to understand how useful this is. The general public has their ways of searching for real estate and their ways of gaining knowledge, but RPR empowers the real estate broker with accurate facts from the MLS and public records, and it's all right there in their hands.
Did you recognize anybody in that? Yeah. So we've got a few official RPR slides to go through, and then I'm going to connect my phone, because if you're like me, it's easier to learn something if you can play along or if you can see it up there on the screen rather than a bunch of static slides. And if you haven't signed in yet, please do sign in the back. This is a CE course, and then I'll be turning that in for you so you can get your education hour today. And then I have some surveys that RPR requires me to have you fill out, so if you would please fill these out at the end, just letting them know if I did an okay job. So RPR stands for Realtors Property Resource, and it's owned by the National Association of Realtors, and they have over 166 million US parcels in the app. So if you've got a family member or a friend out of the area in another state, or even in Southern Oregon, you can certainly look up additional information, more so than you might be able to see online. Some MLSs allow you to see their data more. So like if you were to look at a property in Bend today in RPR, you wouldn't see a whole lot of data. You'd see the public records, but you could look at property in Kihei, Hawaii, and they are going to give you the public records and the MLS data. So each MLS kind of turns things on and off for other realtors. But of course, because you're licensed here, you can see everything on the properties here. And again, it's that public record information and that MLS information that you have, so that you've got it all in one place. And RPR is always updating, so they take your comments, questions, anything that you chat with them about or email them about, they take them into consideration, and they're always improving the app. And there's been some things that have come up in our class that I've forwarded on to RPR, and I've seen them make those adjustments. So they are listening. And RPR is evaluated every few years to make sure that realtors are still using it, and if they are, it gets additional funding. So I'm happy to say that in May at the NAR mid-year meetings in Washington, D.C., it was approved and funded through 2023, and then they'll be reevaluating that later. So this tool is here to stay. It's worth learning about. And there's no charge for you, so you just continue to pay your dues and you have access to it. There's no upgrade or further things to purchase. And just because somebody could download the app or go to the website doesn't mean that they could unlock what you have. You've got the NERDS number, you've got an email address that's on file with realtor.org, and you can set up a password so that you have an account. And RPR has been here in the Portland metro area since October of 2013. I used to work at RMLS, and so I have a good relationship with Kurt, the CEO there, and that's why I still get access to the app to teach it, even though I've been with Chicago Title for 5 years. And it's not just available on the computer, but as you know today, it's available as an app. And if you have one username on the computer, it's the same one that you use to log into the app. You don't have to set up a different account. Any searches that you do on the computer or any properties that you save on the computer sync to your account on the mobile device so that you can continue where you left off in the app, and vice versa. So let's see, there is another. Okay, I'm going to skip that other video. Let's take a look at the app in action. So I'm just going to switch here to my phone. And I'm going to say just follow along either with your eyes or your phone. Like, kind of think of how you learn best. Do you learn best by doing it yourself, or by watching, or by taking notes? Whatever you want is fine. This is the app that we'll be using. This is the RPR app. Now, some of you might say that you are appaholics. You have a lot of apps. You don't know where you put RPR. You're not sure if you've ever downloaded it. So what I'll do is I'm going to put my finger here in the center, and I'm going to swipe down. And then I've got this search bar. So if you don't know if you have an app, you can start to type in RPR. All I did was tap the R, and I can see the app there. Then I can tap it. That's the fastest way to find an app if you've just got pages and pages of apps.
How do you do that again?
And you can also find contacts that way. So I put my finger here, just about the center, and I swiped down. And then this reveals the little spotlight finder. So I don't even have my contacts. This is like not having anything to do with RPR right now, but I don't even have my contacts in a visible place. What I do is if I'm thinking, okay, I need to contact Kim Mitchell, I'll start to type in Kim, and now I can see her contact. And then I can tap that, and I can go straight to her contact and reach her that way.
It'll also search your email that way, so if you
Yeah.
have someone
And
you
notes.
don't have saved to a contact, it'll still find you, it'll search your email, and
Yes.
like, oh, you know, Kim has a signature that has her phone and fax in it, so.
That's true. And I love talking about apps and things like that, so I better like stop before I get too far down the road. The last time I taught this class was Friday, and I was showing them something about RPR commercial, and so that's why my screen is red. And so if you were in that class on Friday and your screen still looks red, I'll show you how to get back to the blue screen. And red is kind of a clue that we're in commercial, because if you think of the NAR logo, our residential one is blue, that R logo, and the commercial brokers have a red logo. So I'm going to tap the gear to get back to the screen that you should be looking at if you were following along. And then at the very top, I can toggle between commercial and residential. So if I just tap that, now it's blue for residential. I'm going to tap the side over here to bring me back to this blue
Where do we
screen.
get that?
I'm just telling you what I was doing. I hit the gear.
Oh, okay.
And then I just toggled back from commercial over here to
Okay.
residential. Sure. So in RPR residential, you've got 3 main screens, and you might notice a couple of dots here. I've got 2 dark dots and 1 white dot. That's just showing me which one I'm on. So when I swipe, yeah, if anybody else wants to move up, it's okay, it's casual, just go ahead and move up. But I'm on screen 1. If I swipe to screen 2, then that dot is white. And let's say you'd like this to be your home screen, and maybe when you first opened the app, you saw this. And we'll talk about what these screens do, but if you want to change the home screen, when you get it to the one that you want to see first, if you have a white house, just tap and hold it, and then that will make this the default home screen. So then next time I open the app, it will open to this. Or if I'm navigating through the app and I tap the home button, it's like clicking my ruby red heels and bringing me back home to the place that I want to be. So since we're here, let's talk about this screen. So my settings are showing me properties within a 1 mile radius of where I am. Now you may see different numbers if your radius has been adjusted to maybe a ½ mile, and that might be more relevant. I just teach in all sorts of different office complexes, and I want to get some properties to show up, and so sometimes it'll say like there's nothing going on here. So I've adjusted my radius to be more than ½ mile. And if you do want to make that change, I'll show you where to do that, and then we'll come right back here. So do you see that gear at the top left? Mm-hmm. I'll tap that gear, and then we're going to go to user settings. It's that 3rd one down. This is where you can tell RPR what you want to define as something that's nearby, or something that recently sold, or something that's a new listing. So you can just slide that, because I think it thinks that new listings are properties that have been on the market for 30 days, and maybe that's not relevant in a hot market. Maybe a new listing would be more like 7 or 14 days, so you can adjust that here. So you guys got that? When you're done making any of those adjustments, that will automatically save. So then you just tap this fuzzy blue area to get right back to where we were. It might take a moment, and then you might see some different numbers if you had adjusted things.
How do we get open up the ½ mile to larger?
So you tap the settings button.
Which button? Like I'm on
There's a gear at the top left.
Where it says set new listings to, or excuse me, it says set nearby. And it's like
Yeah, that's a little button. You can
bars.
just glide
Bars.
your finger across
Down,
that
down, down.
Oh, here.
and just dial that down.
Thank you.
Is this a radius or?
Yeah,
radius
absolutely.
From where you're standing?
Right here.
Or in your car? Or is it from the?
Where your phone is.
Or can you enter the address of the house that you want to do?
In this view, this is taking a look at where is this phone located, and here's what's going on a ½ mile or a mile around where the phone is. You certainly can search by property address on another screen. So there's all sorts of listings in the MLS, and what we're looking at is basically a filter where it's kind of funneled everything down. So it's saying that there are 58 properties for sale within a mile of where I'm standing. 8 of them are new, and I defined them as a new listing is listed within the last 2 weeks. And we've got 21 recently sold. I might have said that was 30 days. And 5 distressed properties, and then there are 11 open houses. And the open house data comes from whatever you input in RMLS, same with your listing and everything else. Let me see a question.
Is this real time? Because I have different data with your same parameters.
You may have a different filter on this, where it could be like greater than 2 bedrooms, and maybe I have like show me all the bedrooms or something like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and tap one after I answer this question.
Thank you. The new listings you said is 2 weeks back, and is that adjustable?
For my setting, yes. You can
Okay.
tap the gear at the top left, and then the 3rd one down is where you can go to your settings and redefine that. Okay, so I will tap, let's just do new listings, because then our map area won't be so cluttered with information, so I'll just touch that. And this is going to show me all of those listings, but sometimes it's kind of hard as I like tap around and get a thumbnail. You know, I can touch one and then I can touch the map to go back. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see those. So do you see the word list at the top? Why don't you tap list if you're following along? And now we can see all of those 8 properties that have recently been listed in a nice list. And you can even change the sort order. So do you see the button at the bottom where I'm scrolling and it says sort? If I tap sort, right now mine is set to the most expensive one is on the top. Maybe that doesn't make sense for this moment. Maybe I want to do proximity, or maybe days in RPR, that's days on the market. So you can make those adjustments to suit your needs, and they may change with each client you're serving, but you just go to sort, and then whenever you see that box is blue, it means it's got your sort and it's performed the sort the way that you want. And then I've also have a filter here. So I can tap the filter button. So maybe that's cool that there are 8 listings nearby, but maybe my client doesn't want to know about pending listings. So I can touch include pending to turn that off. And maybe they need to close on a property like right after school starts, like mid-September or so, or late September. So maybe they don't have time to purchase a distressed property. So I'll just tap that to turn that off. This is where I can really customize it for my client. And then as I scroll down further, we're looking at the basic property filters. I'll just say at least 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. Here's where we can adjust the price range. You don't type it in, you just use your sliding scale. And then at the very bottom, we have keywords. Keywords can be helpful if you're working with somebody who maybe needs to have a wine cellar. They've got this amazing wine collection and they need to have a property with one that's already there. So you can add a keyword or a keyword phrase. So if you were to tap wine cellar, then it understands that's one thought. So you get up to 6 thoughts or keywords, and then you would tap add, and then it would filter that down. And RPR takes this data and it looks at 26 data points throughout each listing. So it's looking at the agent-only comments and the marketing remarks for the public. It's looking at any of the fields out there, because RPR is taking all those different MLSs and they all have different boxes. They're all different from our MLS, and they're kind of like lining them up, and that's why they're searching so many data points to kind of scrape it and present to you everything that mentions the term wine cellar or horse property or ADU or whatever it is you're looking for. So you would add that there.
That's in remarks too, not just in fields.
Right, that's one of the 26 areas. So it's very thorough. So you might even do the same search in RMLS and you might find 6 properties, but here you might find so many more because of all the areas it's searching. So I'm not going to add a keyword here. I'm going to answer a question as I click apply filters. Yes, in the back.
What is the definition of a distressed property?
Distressed property has received a notice of default or lis pendens, or it's easier to show you that on the computer where we can like expand that. So you have a distressed property there that you're looking at?
No.
Oh, okay.
So it's not just if we in RMLS have put in that it's a short sale or bank owned or third party. It's not just that. They pick it up from the public records too?
Yes, there's been some type of distressed action recorded on the property, marked for sale or something. And if you find a distressed property, if you were to back up a little bit and then instead of checking like new listings, you selected distressed and then you tapped one of them, you could scroll down and you could see those distressed actions and the date that they took place, allowing you to serve your client better. Because when I was selling real estate, boy, back in like 08, 09, we had a lot of distressed properties, and sellers were rather embarrassed and it was hard for them to talk about this, but we as counselors know, hey, there's a lot of you going through this, and it would have been helpful to have this kind of data to help them navigate that. But here we are looking at these different properties, and you can always tap map to go right back to where we were. And let's say you were to push this around and you wanted to search maybe this area. I'm just using my thumb or any finger to kind of push that radius out of the way. It's kind of like the Yelp app. If you use that, I can tap redo search in this area. So even though I started off, a mile away, I've just pushed my finger to move the map. I've redone the search in this area so that I can see everything else that fits my criteria in this part of town. Question?
You got me all excited about distress now. Is there a way to get rid of everything else and only show distress?
Yes. I'm going to answer that question by showing you. So the question was, can I show only distressed properties? And so you would want to go to filter and see where it says include distressed. You would turn that on and shut everything off in this area. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then
It may be distressed and active. But
oh, well, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, you could leave the active on and distressed, but it should also bring up properties that are off the market that have had some distressed action on them that may not be listed yet. Okay, so I'll tap the X to go back here. Just a few more things that you can do here. Do you see this circle with the 3 dots at the lower right of your map? I'm going to touch that with my thumb. And now it expands all sorts of crazy options. So with our time together, I don't have time to show you all of these, but I just want you to know there's some cool stuff here. So if you tapped parcels, it would show us the parcel boundaries for each property. And you can zoom in to really see where those are. If you tapped the draw button, that would allow you to use your finger or a stylus to draw an area on a map to search. That could be helpful if your clients love a particular neighborhood, but they don't want to be on a busy main street and they just want to focus on the cul-de-sacs. So you can use your finger to circle that particular area. Scrolling down, if you tapped schools, it would show us the locations of all of the schools in that map area. Next to that is the map view, where you can change it to a satellite view. I like the cartoon view. I think it's a little bit easier to see. If you were to tap traffic, that will show you how much traffic is on those streets on a daily basis. I'll go ahead and tap that to show you. So we have this legend at the bottom that shows us which colored triangle means the traffic volume displayed here. And there's a lot of traffic going on, but it might be helpful for an investor who's looking for a property that's going to have a good exposure, like a good signage, good storefront. So you might want to focus on this. I mean, some of us just know in our heart of hearts which roads are the most trafficy because we're driving those roads all the time. But if you're showing properties in a part of town you're not so familiar with, this could be a pretty cool tool. And one thing to note, if you have followed along and you're trying to move the map, that could be frustrating if you get this. So it says you've got to close the traffic counts and then you can move around the map, because this is a lot of data to show. So you can't just glide your finger all around and move it. So I'm going to tap X. So if you were following along, you'd want to do that. And then I'm going back to this dot with the triple, or the circle with the triple dots, to just talk to you about a couple more things hidden in this map view. If you were to tap travel time, that's a pretty cool feature. So if you've got a client who works at Nike and they don't want their commute to be greater than 15 minutes, you can do travel time. You can enter in the address of their business and add their search criteria, like how many beds, baths, the price of the property, whether they want a 15-minute walk or a 15-minute drive, and then it will show you a zone that renders that type of drive. And so you would have to say like Monday at 7 a.m., but now let's adjust it to look at a Thursday at 5 p.m. And then you could really find a cool key area that your client would really search in. Distance is just a radius search. And then reload would just kind of refresh everything you did there. And then I'm going to close this by tapping that and just pulling it all here. Just another thing I'll show you here. Do you see this star? You probably have like a clear star with a blue outline if you're following along. If I were to touch that star, this allows me to save this search. So it's remembering the filters that I put on there. Remember, I wanted at least 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. So maybe I have a client that I did this search for, and I'll just give it a name. Okay, so when I give that a name, I can save it with a custom name, and then I'll show you where to find that search. So I'll tap the home button to bring me right back to my home screen. And as you scroll throughout RPR, even if you're on another screen, you have access to this button here, Saved. Okay, so see, I'm swiping around. It doesn't matter what screen I'm on. I'm going to tap Saved. And first it's going to display all of the properties that I have saved. But I just saved a search, so I'm going to tap Searches. And there we go, there's the Kelsey Jones search. So this will update. So I was filtering it down to active properties only. But if I were to touch this 7 weeks from now, this would have different properties for sale, I would hope. It would have, yeah, these would update so that the off-market ones are not displaying. And let's say I don't want to save this anymore because I found imaginary Kelsey a home. Well, I can go back here and I can touch that star, and now that search has been unsaved. Now I no longer see that. And I'll tap the home button to go back. So that's what this page is for. This is kind of a filtering down all those listings. So if you were to drive to Hillsborough this afternoon, all of this information is going to change because your phone is going with you and the app can tell you good information about what's going on nearby. I'm going to use my finger to swipe over here. This is also helpful when showing properties all around the area. I grew up in the Seattle area, and when I was selling real estate, I would cover like 5 counties. I don't know if you guys do that here, but like, sure, if I know you, I'll sell you a house in Olympia or in Arlington. Like, that's a crazy span, but we would do that because we wanted to give, I don't know, that was a bad idea. Okay, that's what we did up there. But this would have helped me if I had it, because then I could drive up to Arlington, and then this would tell me exactly what the market conditions are, and I could look like the expert. Then I could drive out to Kelso, and then it would update. So you can do this anywhere, but especially in Oregon where you work. And I'm seeing a question downloading. Yes?
Obviously here we have dual agency. Do we just input both our license numbers to be able to do it in Washington as well, or does it matter?
Doesn't matter. So, like
you mentioned earlier, like Bend MLS may not show all the details. In Washington, I may, you know, if I'm not, they won't know if I'm a member or not. So it doesn't matter, or
so with RMLS, you've got Southwest Washington covered. But like my parents live in the Seattle area. If I typed in their address, I'm going to see public record data only. Their house isn't listed, but if I looked at what's going on in their neighborhood, NWMLS, side note, is not made up of only realtors. So not all of them subscribe to that code of ethics. About half of them, I think, are just real estate agents. And so it's at the MLS level that determines, do we want to partner with RPR and give this benefit to realtors? And they just don't want to split it between the two. Long answer, but that's why there are some MLSs like that just don't have a lot of data to give. Those agents there don't even use RPR. But if you're showing properties in Clark County and anywhere that you can do a search in RMLS and find listings, you can see all sorts of data in here.
Because I'm talking DuPont. I mean, we're obviously a bit more north.
Okay.
There's a lot of military housing.
Yeah, in DuPont, you're not going to see the level of detail that you do here. So this page, oh, I see another question. Yes.
How did you get to the screen you're on now with the White House rather than the greenhouse?
I just swiped. I just pushed. Just swiped until you see something that looks similar. So there's just 3 screens here, so you can't break it. Just keep swiping until you see this. And so what I want to show you is this, you can't really change. This is just giving you some cool market stats. And if you're doing like a video market update on the fly, you could certainly take a look at this information and just do like a quick video update on Instagram or something, telling people like what's going on in the marketplace. Or you could be with your clients, and as they ask questions like, well, how long have homes like this been on the market? Like, you know, you can quickly like secretly look at your phone and say, oh, 43 days. So this just helps you look, I don't know, more knowledgeable, right? Anywhere you go, this will update.
How do I change that target place? Can I change it to a zip code easily, or am I
You
stuck
drive,
in-
you drive somewhere else,
Okay,
really.
you gotta just GPS it, that's where it comes from.
So yeah, this is looking at where you are. But if we swipe to this screen, this is where you could go to find a few different things. You could run, let's see, I wanted to answer your question, but I thought the answer would be here. You would, the question was, what if I wanted this data for another area that I don't want to drive to see all that data, and I want to do this from my phone? Well, I think this one would be under reports. You would tap reports, you would type in the zip code that you wanted the data for, and
I'm sorry, where do you, how do you get to the zip code?
Did you see the reports button at the lower left of one of the main screens?
I'm
Oh, you're ahead of me. All right. Yeah, actually, you're right where I am. So at the very top, what does your box say? Okay, you could type in a different area or a different zip code, and then what you could do is run a market activity report and just go through those steps, and then it's going to give you loads of details about whatever area you input there. That's just a quick answer to your question. Does that help?
Okay, if you throw a zip code up there, you gotta throw in an address too?
No, just a zip code will work.
Well, I just put in the zip code of 97219, and below it, I have McMinnville 97218, Iowa.
Just find the right one. It's there.
Yeah, so when you tap search, RPR says, we see this number show up in a few different areas. Is it this specific house? You're going to want the one at the very bottom that
Oh,
says.
I've never got that far.
Okay.
Figure that out.
Just keep
I gotta
scrolling.
look one more down. Thank you.
Yeah. And so in this class, we're not showing you how to run a market activity report. I just wanted to make sure that question was answered. So if I've lost you, it's okay. But I wanted to help this gentleman know how he could get different market data. And then you would just keep tapping next to get to that report.
Just real quick, I
Yes.
just took your desktop class. Can you get this kind of info on your desktop?
So much easier there. Yes, you can. Yes. So I'll tap the X to get out of there. What I wanted to show you was this screen where, let's say your contact, one of your clients, sends you a text with an MLS number they're interested in. Does that ever happen to you guys? Yeah, okay. Or like a lead from your website. They give you an address, or they're responding to something they found on your website. And maybe you are with clients, you're showing homes, and you know that what's the most important thing that a lead wants? They want to hear from you, like yesterday. So if you're able to kind of sneak your phone and get back to your text while your clients are in the kitchen and you're in the living room, what you could do is go to this screen and you could input the MLS number that they have a question about. Or you could input the full address. So let's see, does anybody have an MLS number or a sample address I could put in here to show you something?
5998
5998
Frost Lane.
Thank you. And all I had to do was type the house number and Frost, and then it's helping me save time, so I'm just going to tap that. And so in this scenario, my client's interested in this property, and I just want to see what I can get for them and maybe send them a mini property report. So a mini property report is 10 to 11 pages of data on a property. It takes the public record info, it takes the MLS info, but it's something that you can generate on the fly and send to them while you finish up your appointment, and then you can circle back with them and see if there's anything else you could help with.
How do you send that?
I'm glad you asked. That's what I'm here to show you. Yes. So, a couple things before we get to the report is, if you have the lock rotation set on your phone so that later today you can lay on the couch and read email and look at pictures and they won't slide around, then you're going to want to turn that off to do this cool thing. So I've just turned my phone sideways. I have lock rotation off. That means I can twist it. And now I can glide through the different photos full screen. It might take a moment to load them on your Wi-Fi, but you'll see that too. So that's just nice if you're sitting with somebody, maybe a seller, and you're looking at some comps together. And
you got to the pictures.
It's so nice to be able to look at them large. So I'm going to turn my phone right side up to turn that off. But that's just one of those Easter eggs that's just kind of hidden in there for you to find. If you don't want to see 4 photos at a time and scroll through, you can tap this button. This is just that box button. It might take a moment to load, but if you're doing this on your phone off of Wi-Fi, you'll see the full picture there that you can swipe through.
Where do you get that?
We're looking at a property, so really just any property.
Right, so I just have a property up here.
Okay, so then you can turn your phone sideways.
Okay.
And then right side up.
Oh, I
How did you get the pictures?
So can I see your phone, please? Oh, so you are on a different journey. You're working on making a report. Just a moment, guys.
I get it.
I put in that, let's see, I went in and put in the address. How did, what did you do?
We moved on to something else. So we moved on to something else. So just tap that X and just tap any property.
Any property. You mean on this one?
Yeah, and now we've got some properties going to tap any property. Okay, now tap that again, please. Okay, I'm more minutes with you. It's 5998 Broad.
I did type that in, but
Okay, may I drive for just a moment?
Yeah.
All right. So what I'm going to do is go to recent. And recent is going to show me anything I've looked at recently and typed in. So I'm not seeing it there, so we'll go ahead and type that in. So we're on this screen. There's 3 different screens here. So there's this one, there's this one. This is the only one with the search bar.
Oh, okay.
And then when I put my finger there, I went to the numbers and I typed 5998. I don't know. Okay, and then I tapped it. I'm gonna give that back to you. Okay, guys. Then wanted to show you, as you scroll through, you can see additional details. So this is new for sale. I can see it's been listed for 2 days. It's kind of grayed out. It says days in RPR 2. And hey, there's an open house on the 18th from 1 to 3. Again, it pulls that in from whatever you input into RMLS. You could even add the open house to your calendar. So anytime you see something blue, that's a hyperlink that will link you to something else. So if you were to tap call agent, don't do that in class, that's going to ring the cell phone of the agent who has this property listed. We will hear it ring. Then if we tapped right here, email, it would open up a new email to Kathy, and we could just engage in our questions. We can see showing instructions. There's a lockbox on there, and it's vacant. We can see the agent remarks, but I also want to draw your attention to additional information. When you tap additional information, this is where it's telling us that lockbox info. Sometimes it will say it's on the man door on the garage, or it's on the back porch. That's where you see the data here. We can see that public information, or that public marketing remarks section. We can see where it's located on the map. Hey, we could even tap traffic and see what kind of traffic's happening around here. And sometimes we get those clients who are first-time buyers who aren't too sure that this property is listed right, and they really trust us, and they want us to do like a mini CMA. Does that ever happen to you guys? And you think, okay, well now I have to go back to the office and spend 40 minutes doing a CMA. Well, no, you could do one on the fly here, just like a quick one. You could tap nearby comps and see what the computer thinks are good comparables, or you could tap create comp analysis. That's not what we're doing in this class. We're getting our way to the report section where I'll show you how to do a mini report. But just know that you could play along with that. You could tap create comp analysis, pick your comps, and do something like that on the phone for your client. Then, as I scroll down further, we've got the homeowner facts. And then in the home facts section, we can toggle between the public data and the listing data. You know how sometimes somebody will say that it's 4 bedrooms and it's really just 3 with an office. So we can always toggle between public to see what are they saying at the county level. And then over here on your changes, you can make some changes to this, and they save just to your account. So like, let's say you're taking a look at this property with your client, and lo and behold, there's only 1 fireplace, but the listing said there were 2. You could always make that adjustment here, and then your CMA, if you were going to do one, would be more accurate because you've adjusted the subject property. So if 2 of you were looking at the same property making changes, you would not see those changes. That's just saved to your account. Question in the Aloha shirt. Did you have a question, or were you bidding? Yes?
Me?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I pulled up an address, and then you hit report.
Yes. And I'm almost there. So I just want to show you there's a lot of data on each house. And so if this property were distressed, it would tell you at the top. It would say distressed, kind of like where it showed the price. And then if you scroll down to the very bottom, below the schools, below the mortgage records, in this vicinity, this is not a distressed property, thankfully, but you would see that additional data if it were distressed. So it's just kind of cool that that information is there for us to be able to help our clients better with. Okay, now we're at the part where I show you how to generate a report. So we've got the reports button at the very bottom, so I'm going to tap that. And now let's make sure we've got the right house, 5998 Frost Lane, that's the one I want, that's showing at the top. And now I'm on step 1 where I select the report. So I talked to you about the mini property report being about 10 or 11 pages. So I'm going to tap mini property report. This is awesome for people who just want to know a little bit more. I kind of call RPR the Fred Meyer of real estate because it takes all sorts of different things and puts them under one roof. So this is going to be useful because it takes the public records, the MLS records, and it gives them to your client in a nice, easy to read report that they'll think you spent a long time creating. So after I tapped mini property report from the selection, I'm on step 2.
I'm missing the all custom pages.
I'm going to talk about that right now.
Okay.
So I've got some custom pages that I added, and I added them on the computer. So that could be my company information. That could be some of my latest reviews. That could be guidance for a seller, guidance for a buyer. Do you guys have like company PDFs that you want to attach now and then to your CMAs or to your buyer meetings? So if you do, they need to be in a PDF format. You get up to 5 spots that you can fill with a PDF, and you can upload them on the computer, and then they would show up here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave them on so you can see an example of what I'm talking about, but I just opened up Word, put some sample text in there, saved it as a PDF, and uploaded it to kind of represent what you can do. We're not seeing that yet, but we're seeing that I could turn it off and on. Let's say I'm working with somebody and I have been working with them for 6 weeks. They don't need to get my about me every time, right? They know who I am. So I would shut off those custom pages if I've already engaged with them and sent them a lot of reports. Over here we have all report sections. So before we go to step 3, please look at this. If I say no, not all report sections, then I can see what's included in this. And I think you might want to turn off mortgage records, right? If you're sending this information to your client, they don't need to see the mortgage records. That's kind of personal. That's there for you as a realtor, for you to understand things better. So use your best judgment, but I just want to show you this is where that is. You can turn that off. And as I scroll back up, I'm going to tap next. If you're following along, we are moving from step 2 to step 3. And from here, we could download it or we could email it directly from RPR. I'm going to recommend you do something different depending on the situation. So most of the time I teach, you want to download it because then you can proof it. Then you can make sure that's accurate, that's the right information, and then you can send it, and then it will be attached, or it will have your signature line attached with the links to your website, and it will be saved in your sent folder in your email. Does that sound good? Takes a little bit more time, right? Because you have to wait for that report to be generated. It's maybe 3 minutes, and then you have to look at it and send it. But if you're working with somebody that you know really well, you've sent them a lot of listings over time, you may just want to hit email and just send it their way, okay? And the reason you wouldn't want to do that all the time, there's no sent folder in RPR, so you might not remember who you sent what to. And it doesn't come with your signature line. There will be one kind of cobbled together from the data you input in RPR, but it's not going to be as good as downloading it and sending it from your email. Does that make sense? Okay, so if you were to do the straight email from the app, you would want to copy yourself. And if you tapped this plus, it's going to search your contacts. How nice is that? So you don't have to try to memorize what that email address was. Okay, but I'm going to go back to download so I can show you what this looks like, and then I'll tap get report. And if any of you have the volume on your phone and you're following along, you might hear a doorbell sound because RPR knows what gets a realtor's attention. A doorbell, someone's here. So when you have this screen, you don't have to just stare at this screen. You can tap exit reports, And you can use your phone to do other things, or you can put it away in your pocket or your purse. You don't have to just sit and wait for it. You'll be notified when that report is all ready. So let's look at a few more things you can do. I'm going to tap that back arrow right there by the address. It's at the top left. And that's going to bring me back to where I was.
Did you exit report?
I sure did.
Okay.
So here we are. I was at the very bottom of the listing looking at details. I can tap notes, and I want to show you 3 types of notes that you can add to this property that are just for you, or if you were to generate a report, this information would be included in the report.
How did you get there?
So are you looking at a sample property?
I'm on where you went to add a report.
Okay, do you see an address at the very top of your screen with like a little arrow to the left?
Yes.
Please tap the arrow to the left of the address.
Okay.
And then at the bottom, do you see a box that says notes?
Actually, mine went all the way to back to the home.
Okay, is there anybody next to you
All the way down.
that can help? I want to help,
Go
but I
all,
want
swipe all
to
the
show
way
you a few
down.
more things.
Right down.
Nope. Yes? Should I?
Yeah, it's mine.
You're smiling inside.
So there's 3 types of notes you can add. I'll just give you a sample of each one of them. So the first one is that pencil, where we can add a text note. So we could type something here. You know those Federal Pacific fuse boxes that really need to be replaced on older homes? Like if you were showing a home like that and you knew you wanted to ask the seller to replace it, you could start to tap that in here with your fingers. Or we see this little microphone. If you're fancy, you could use that. You could just dictate into your phone. Or you could tap this, that kind of does the same thing, and then everything you say will be typed there. So that's one way to do it. I'll just type the phrase sample text and save it. Okay, so now it's saying, hey, this will be included in your reports. That's cool. Or I could tap that and I could shut that off, so that's just for me. Next to that is add a photo. This may be helpful if you're showing a property to half a couple, the other half can't be there and they can't do FaceTime, and maybe they've got a limited data plan and their other half can't be sending them all these photos and videos. Hey, here a report ready. What you can do is take pictures, add them to this listing, generate a mini property report, and now they'll see all the pictures you took, including all the listing photos. You guys are realtors, you know how to take a photo. I'm not going to demonstrate that. But if you want to select from an album, you can grab multiple pictures or one at a time. If you're following along and you think, yeah, I'll add 17 of them, it's going to take a while to load. Our phones take very large file photos. So I will just pick one and then I'll tap done. Now this would also be helpful if you were doing a CMA and you drove by the property and you took a photo with your camera and you wanted to pull it into the app so you could use that as the main picture for your CMA. How cool would that be? So we'll just pretend this is the one that is representing the house. I'll tap done. It's going to take a moment to save that, and then I'll show you how to save that as the report cover. So here we go. If I tap edit, this is an extra step to get that photo that I added as the cover photo for the reports. When I tap edit, it would show me all the photos I've added. I just added one. When I touch report cover, then it allows me to save that as the main photo, but I have to tap update. Okay, so now I generate it, that will be the main picture. The third button to show you is you can add a memo. So perhaps you are, okay, I think I had shut everything off recently, but if you see this, it tells you what to do. You go to settings, you go to privacy, and then you allow RPR to access your microphone. So you would do that, and then you could tap this button. Maybe you're at a showing or at a CMA appointment, and your seller is telling you, I updated this kitchen, and we put new carpeting over here, and that's just too much for you to write down. So you could get their okay to just record that audio. And then if their daughter comes home from soccer practice, you can tap this button again. They can, visit, and then you can tap it to unpause it. And so you've got the audio recording saved to that listing. So when you go to write your marketing flyer or your marketing comments, you can play that audio again, and then it would be saved here. So that's kind of cool. And then if I tap, see where the address is at the very top? If I tap that arrow button next to it, now this is showing me I've got 2 notes associated with this property, and I've got 1 report. So that's just nice to know. Now I didn't see the notification that our report was ready, so I'm going to tap the home button.
No, it went by.
It did? Okay, thank you. So that's real life, right? Where you don't always see that those reports are ready and you're not sure and you want to check and see, how do I get to it? So what you would do is you would tap recent. I think it was recent. Sometimes they move things. Yes, okay. Tap the recent button. And we have these different tabs. Right now it's showing me all the properties I've recently looked at. This is all the searches I've recently done. Aha. Reports. These are all the reports I've run. Now, recent, as defined by RPR, is within the last 30 days. So I've been teaching RPR for about 6 years. It's not going to have all those reports. It's just going back 1 month. That's all. So I can view the report of that very first one on the top. And then it's going to show me that cover page. Now there was a question about custom pages. So if you had custom pages, they would show up either at the beginning or the end. This is just a sample where it could represent my resume. As I scroll to the next custom page, this could represent some client testimonials I've copied from the internet and pasted into something I convert into a PDF. You may not see those pages, and if you see mine, something's gone wrong. So this would probably be the next page you would see, where it's got the list price, current estimated value, a few other numbers there, all the details. So your client would probably be pretty impressed that you've put together this whole PDF report for them. And if you had added any additional photos, there would be yet another page of all those photos that you've uploaded. It's got the median estimated home value graphs, the sales history. Sometimes they use Redfin, the brokerage's website to get that data. You can give them that information here. It's all located in this report. And all sorts of good data. And as I scroll down to the bottom, this was 12 pages because I had those custom pages included. And I kept in this about RPR's data info. So you could shrink that down maybe to about 9 pages. So do you guys think you might use that mini property report? And so if you're looking at this and this looks good, do you see that box with the arrow? That's the universal button for share. So you can tap that, and then if you're on an iPhone, you'll get something like this. And here's where you could swipe through and either airdrop it to any one of these people here, or you could send them a message or an email. Now, if I were to send them a text message, I need to either tap this plus symbol to add someone from my contacts, or type in their name. And then see this ugly link? That's just a link to open that PDF file. They don't have to download a special app. But of course, you need to identify yourself. So just move your cursor there and explain what this gobbledygook link is and who you are, and then just send that off. Okay? So that's how you share that. And then we'll tap X. Yep, and then right next to that was email. It would just open up an email from you with your email signature line and that ugly link. Any questions about that?
What about Android?
Android would look a little bit different since I do not have one. I don't know how it would look. But are you on a screen that looks kind of like this, where it says reports?
No, I'm on the full report itself.
Okay. Do you have like a back button or an X at the top right? Can you tap the X at the top right to get out of this report? Do you want to show me what your screen looks like?
Yeah.
Okay. So, there's a little back button.
Yep.
Okay.
Right.
So right there, your screen looks kind of like mine. You haven't run as many reports, but you'd want to tap share. So
okay.
Do you see share? So when you tap that, then
yes,
that will prompt you to pick which way you'd like to share it. Okay, wow, it is 11. So, how did that happen? As you can see, there are so many cool things that you can do with RPR Mobile. And if I could just show you one more thing. So, let's say you just wanted to jump straight into a report. You could tap the report button. And then you have to identify, like we did in class earlier, a particular zip code. So you would do a zip code, a part of town, a city and state, and then you'd pick one of the different reports here. You could even create a buyer's tour. So play around with this, get to know it, give yourself, I don't know, maybe a half hour so you don't get too overwhelmed. You could even set a timer so that you spend that time getting better at your craft. And I think you'll really love this. I've got some feedback forms that I would love to ask you to please fill out and then return to me up front. Or actually, please set them in the back on your way out next to the area where you signed in, and then I'll turn those into RPR. That concludes our time today, but I'll stick around for about 10 minutes if someone has a question. I'm Stephanie Chumbley with Chicago Title, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. Good to see you.
I learned a little bit. My little brain just doesn't comprehend.
Oh, okay.
I just like the way it does searching
Oh, yeah.
for words, not just.
Okay, and then it went away.
Had a
Let me
really
get
good
this
client
again.
that wanted waterfront property.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed how many people have bought
Oh,
a check.
thank you.
Do you know, is Kim your sales executive? She may have a list that tells you when I'm next teaching for her. So I know I'm teaching a class in Canby tomorrow. Canby, it's not RPR, it's at a rematch. And we're teaching the okay. Yeah, so, okay, so, yeah.
No, I tried somebody. So how can I?
Thank you. Good to see you again. Thank you. Let's see. I'll try doing this one. Yes. I'm going to disconnect though from the screen. So I go over here. May I drive the phone for 1 minute, please? Okay. So
Having dinner and drinks.
I'm going to say. You said it was there. We will turn that off though if that doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.